Jack, I've been trying to improve my English for a long time, but I always find myself translating from my native language before I speak. And this process makes me slow, nervous, and sometimes unable to express my thoughts clearly.
I completely understand you, Mary, because this is a very common problem for language learners, and the real solution is not to translate, but to train your brain to start thinking directly in English as if it were your first language.
That sounds interesting, but honestly, I don't know how I can force my brain to stop translating automatically, because it feels like a habit that I've had for years without even noticing it.
The first step is very simple but powerful, which is to start describing everything around you in English inside your mind. Like when you are walking, cooking, or even sitting you can silently describe what you see, what you feel, and what you are doing.
So you mean that even if I am alone, I should keep talking to myself in English about normal daily things, like I am opening the door, I am drinking coffee, or the weather is a little cold today.
Exactly, because this daily mental practice slowly teaches your brain to connect situations and objects with English words directly, without going through translation, and after some time it becomes automatic and natural.
I think this method can help me, especially because I spend a lot of time alone, and I can use those moments to practice without feeling embarrassed or judged by anyone.
Another very effective technique is to ask yourself simple questions in English during the day, and then answer them in English as well, because this creates a real conversation inside your mind and strengthens your thinking ability.
For example, I can ask myself, what am I going to do after work? And then answer, I will go home, prepare dinner, and watch a movie, right?
Yes, and you can also imagine conversations with people, like pretending that you are explaining something to a friend or telling a story, because imagination is a powerful tool for language learning.
I never thought that imagination could play such an important role in learning a language. But now that you mention it, it makes a lot of sense.
You should also try to surround yourself with English as much as possible by listening to podcasts, watching videos, and reading simple texts, because your brain needs constant exposure to get used to thinking in English naturally.
Sometimes I listen to English content, but I still translate in my head while listening, and that makes me tired very quickly.
In that case, don't try to understand every single word, but focus on understanding the general meaning, because this trains your brain to process English like a native speaker who doesn't analyze every word separately.
I see, so the goal is to understand the message, not the individual words, and this can reduce the need for translation.
Exactly, and over time, you will notice that certain English phrases come to your mind automatically without any effort, which is a clear sign that you are starting to think in English.
I feel motivated now, because these techniques are simple, and I can practice them every day without needing a teacher or a classroom.
That's the beauty of it, Mary, because training your brain to think in English is something you can do anytime and anywhere, as long as you stay consistent and patient with yourself.
Jack, sometimes when I try to think in English, I suddenly forget very simple words, and this makes me feel frustrated and tempted to return to translating in my head again.
That is completely normal, Mary, because when you are training your brain to think in a new language, it is like building new mental pathways, and forgetting words is part of the learning process, not a sign of failure.
So what should I do when I forget a word while I am thinking in English, and I don't want to translate it from my native language?
In that situation, you should try to explain the word using other English words that you already know, because this forces your brain to stay in English instead of escaping to translation.
For example, if I forget the word umbrella, I can say in my mind, the thing that I use to protect myself from the rain, right?
Exactly, and this technique is very powerful because it trains you to think creatively in English and improves your ability to express yourself even with limited vocabulary.
I like this idea because it removes the pressure of remembering the exact word and focuses more on communication.
Another useful habit is to think in English before you sleep, by reviewing your day in your mind and describing everything you did from morning until night.
That sounds like a good exercise because I can practice quietly in bed without any distractions or stress.
Yes, and this daily review helps your brain store English sentences in your long-term memory, which makes thinking in English easier the next day.
I also notice that when I speak English out loud, Even if I am alone, I feel more confident than when I only think silently.
Speaking out loud is excellent because it connects your thoughts with your voice, and this strengthens the relationship between thinking and speaking in English.
I will start doing that every day, even if it feels a little strange at the beginning.
Don't worry, Mary. After a few days, it will feel natural, and you will realize that your brain is slowly switching from translating to thinking directly in English.
Jack, I have started applying the techniques you told me about, and I noticed that when I force myself to think in English for a long time during the day, my brain becomes tired very quickly, as if it is doing a difficult workout that it is not used to yet.
This mental tiredness is actually a very positive sign, Mary, because it means that your brain is leaving its comfort zone and creating new connections in English, just like muscles that feel sore after exercising in a new way for the first time.
Sometimes while I am walking in the street and describing things in English inside my mind, I suddenly realize that I have been thinking in English for several minutes without noticing it, which makes me feel proud and surprised at the same time.
That moment of surprise is very important because it shows that thinking in English is slowly becoming automatic and natural, instead of something you are forcing yourself to do consciously all the time.
I also tried imagining that I am explaining my daily routine to a foreign friend who does not speak my language. And this imagination helped me stay focused in English for a longer period without switching back to translation.
Imagination is one of the strongest tools for training your brain, because when you create realistic situations in your mind, your brain reacts as if those situations are real, and this makes your practice much more effective and memorable.
I noticed that when I watch videos in English now, I understand the general meaning faster than before, and I do not feel the strong need to translate every sentence word by word as I used to do in the past.
This happens because your brain is starting to recognize English as a complete system of meaning, rather than a collection of separate words that need to be translated individually into your native language.
There are moments when English words come to my mind before the words of my own language, especially for simple daily expressions that I repeat many times in my thoughts.
This is a clear sign of progress, Mary, because it means that English is beginning to occupy a natural place in your thinking process instead of being treated as a foreign language that requires extra effort.
Even when I make mistakes in my mind while thinking in English, I try not to stop or correct myself immediately because I want my thoughts to flow naturally without interruption.
That is an excellent strategy, because fluency in thinking comes before accuracy, and once your brain becomes comfortable thinking in English, correcting mistakes will become much easier and more automatic.